Good evening, and welcome to Golden Compass Tarot. Today I have a request from a friend for a reading, and so we're going to be using 4 decks today. The decks we'll be using are the original Tarot deck, the Earth Elemental deck, the Crow Oracle deck, and the Spirit Animal deck. And the combination of these decks are a walking reminder to be able to recognize that knowledge, lessons, and answers are all around us, everywhere we look in this world we inhabit, for the things that grow, for the places we live, to the animals that we share our habitat with, as well as our own internal inner reflections of all of these things, including ourselves. And my friend wants to have some guidance on maybe where to consider going in life, which could mean one of two things. We are looking for alignment, or maybe some recognizance of obstacles or barriers we might not consciously be aware of, to bring them to light so that we can resolve them and walk in more harmonious alignment. So, I ask, to me and through me, to these decks then, how can I walk more harmoniously in life, in balance, recognize barriers and obstacles, and properly navigate them? Let's get started. And I will explain the layout as we go along here. These cards also may come upside down. I don't play by that rule. Mainly because if it's upside down or right side up, the challenge is still to overcome the obstacle. So you can either use it as a forward recognizing of what's being communicated to us, or a challenge that we have to overcome and resolve. So it's just a lot easier to keep them all face up, so it's easier to read and understand, especially for those who might not be super familiar with the tarot cards. So we will read them as such. So the layout then is the earth, from where we come from to where we'll end up. We have ourselves in the middle. Up next are the crows, and the crows will guide us from where we were. They're going to give us the suggestion to where we are now, and then finally they're going to lead us to where we are going. And finally, to top it all off, what our spirit, animal, energy, or guide, what that could look like. Alright, this is the layout. Let's begin. The first card is Gravity. We want to stay grounded. We don't want to get too elevated or elated. That causes us, that could cause us, to be knocked over, to have our course changed or altered. So we want to keep our feet firmly planted on the ground. Let's see what the next one says. I just flipped that one over there, if you'll notice. This is the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands suggests intuitive alignment of our passions, which is also now gives more weight to this Gravity card, no pun intended, that we want to stay grounded so that we can properly assert ourselves, whatever this is on this path is going to be. let's look at the next one. Influence. Considering the information of our first two draws here about being grounded and alignment of our passions and desires and wants, influence could mean one of two things here. Influence could mean that because people see you are doing well, you're burning bright, you're on a good course, and they might not be, and they may want to nudge you in different directions, maybe to take you down a peg because they think maybe you're too high on yourself or whatever it is. But also be mindful too of, like, if you're happy and you're not crossing anyone else's boundaries, whatever it is you're doing, then that's okay too, and their opinion doesn't matter because it's their life, it's not yours, and quite the same the other way around. And if you're doing something that you enjoy, then their opinions, if they're not helpful or they're not in alignment with what you want to do, then that's up to you to how much weight or gravity you would like to give to other people's validation. But if you're following your own light and it's making you happy and is not destructive, then other people's opinions may not be as helpful or needed. So consider that as well when someone's giving feedback. Why are they giving me this feedback? What does their intent appear to be? And gain some clarity on that if needed. Let's see where we're going next, which is quite interesting to get the Tower card. So the Tower looks pretty scary. However, in considering the true nature of the Tower, it would suggest a destruction of a rigid structure, meaning a belief that no longer serves us, or it could be parts of an identity that no longer fit where we're going, especially if we're following our passion and people are influencing, saying things like, well, how do you know that's going to be for you? This is not typically what you do, or yada yada, things like that. It basically, you're outside of the parameters and boundaries of other people's expectations now in your actions and the path you've chosen to take in life, and that's okay. And this very much is a necessary thing to happen in that circumstance as well, because in order to follow what uplifts and enlivens you, well, some pieces that aren't serving us, they gotta die, don't they? So, and those are the rigid things that have held us back before. Let's see where we're going next here. Self-interest, which I would say it hammers home the point of the last couple of cards here as they've come up. The crows are showing self-interest. The crow has, let me see what that is. I can't see that from this far away. The crow's got a mouse. He's found his own lunch. And the other ones are still there foraging and scavenging. But hey, if you put in the hard work and you put in the effort to catch that thing, I mean, that thing is yours, and you can choose to share it with whoever you want or not at all. Which again brings us back to the influence card here as well. These people that may have wanted to change or sway your course, and now all of a sudden you're starting to catch, things are, basically it's a, what do I want to say, that like a bounty, or you're starting to really make something out of this that's nourishing you and fulfilling. You don't have to share that with them, because if they try to sway you away from it, that's too bad for them. It's yours, and in this case, enjoy it. It took a lot of hard work. There's some destructive elements that had to take place here as well, so that's yours to enjoy. The last card in the original tarot deck is the Four of Cups. And the Four of Cups has someone sitting down in a reflective pose, staring at 3 cups. So there's a bit of an emotional exploration here, a reflective element, and then there's a divine hand appearing with a fourth cup, saying, "Hey, check this out." So new perspective, which again does fit with the tower, along with destroying of an old identity. Obviously, then therefore leads for the path of new perspective, which leads to creation of a new identity. In simple terms. Let's see what the last Earth card here says. Marine life. And the marine life is representative of the ocean, full of all the different creatures that inhabit that environment. So to connect it then with the journey we've been on so far is, at first there's an awakening, but there are some challenges along the way here. However, having said that, putting into diligent work to work through all those challenges, which here it starts off as passionate and here it ends off more as emotional. So there's definitely some identity which is also strongly emotionally tied to here that has to fall away, crumble down, get tossed out. But that being said, the path going forward shows a lot of emotional development here. There's a lot of marine life, and again, the ocean is reflective of our emotional state inwardly, and the variety of the different creatures that are depicted on this card would suggest a lot of vibrant and lively emotional experiences. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel here after all this clash in the middle. Finally, let's see which spirit animal now is going to lead us through all this. And that animal is the nightingale. And that one I'm not super familiar on, so just bear with me for a second. This one I actually have to check because I'm not real sure where this one fits. So nightingale is a pretty balanced bird. It speaks freely but with kindness, which is quite interesting. Because that's very much what happens after going through a very rough transformative process and doing some very deep emotional reflection. Our language very much does change, because in order to work through these challenges, we have to be able to talk to ourselves first with kindness, care, and compassion, and grace as we navigate new or uncertain challenges. And when we recognize those conflicts in ourselves, and we understand what that language looks like, when we finally come out on the other side, we can then see whenever others are in their own stages of tumult or conflict. But we can always go back and remember that whenever we were the frustrated, scared, angry, or upset child inside, and we felt like no one was listening to us, and then we had to become that voice of care and nurture for ourselves, so that we could find a proper and earnest path out of the darkness and back to our own inner light. Whenever we can internalize that first, we can then externalize that in the sound of our own song, or the tone and the words and the advice that we give to others who are close to us, who matter, and may need some help as well. And so now to step back and really look at this whole entire picture here and all the things we've discussed. My message then for you, my friend, from our journey on this is journey inward. Find what it is you need for yourself first. And really honestly and earnestly sit with yourself, and whatever those doubts, anxieties, fears, or things that anger you are, sit there and ask why. What do I feel about this? One word describes the emotion. One word. I'm angry because, I'm anxious because, I'm afraid because, and then explore that why. And then in your mind's eye, picture that the person feeling this emotion may be a smaller child who's afraid, and now you're the adult. And you have to guide this inner child version to somewhere safer. What language would you use to help that younger version of yourself? And the more you can play these roles with yourself first and understand the importance of why the language has to be that way, and then understanding how it works, we can then finally let that song of our soul out to help others, to guide them, and to help them find their own inner light. Finally, to consider then the element of uncertainty and not sure which direction to go in life. Maybe you are where you need to be right now, and the only thing that has to change is eliminating some of the static, the white noise, so you can hear your own inner voice clearer. Because when we learn to listen to that inner voice, it really does tell us where we should be going or what we may need in relation to what we're missing at the time. That's the reading, and I was really happy to be able to go on this journey. And if you have also found your way to this video and you found it helpful, then let me know in the comments. I really enjoy doing these. As much as it helps other people, I get to learn things as well. I do these things completely unedited and uncut, so this is a very genuine, on-the-fly reading. Though it may not come off as perfectly clean, it's as genuine as you're going to get. And so it really helps me as well to reach into my own self to help bring out and create something that can be helpful for someone else. So to you, I thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time.